My friends, pay attention to the silence that has taken over the esplanade of ministries this week. It's not the silence of peace, it's the silence of panic from those who realize the ground has started to shake. While the mainstream media tries to sell you the idea that Lula's trip to the United States is a state visit, the reality in intelligence circles is much darker. The leader of Brazil isn't going to negotiate anything, he's going to sign a surrender agreement. But why now, you ask me? My friends, why this sudden rush to leave on Wednesday? The answer isn't in Brasília but in Caracas. The capture of Maduro, the man who felt untouchable, surrounded by his Praetorian Guard, sent an electric shock straight to Planalto Palace. Trump isn't just playing chess, he's operating a geopolitical guillotine. He proved that walls, jungles, and foreign guards don't stop American determination when the goal is to clean up the hemisphere. Luiz Inácio isn't going to Washington as a sovereign president. No. He's going as a crisis fixer for a system that's seeing its external pillars being imploded one by one. He realized that the stage fight he tried to put on to get likes from his supporters didn't scare the sheriff. Trump remained silent, and Trump's silence is the sound of a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. What you're going to see today is the anatomy of a government that has become a political zombie, or what many in geopolitics call a lame duck. He is desperately trying to buy time before the next domino falls and it's his turn. Now subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell because it takes a lot of work to make this. Leave a like. Let's talk about what TV doesn't show you. Donald Trump's surgical coldness. While the armchair analysts were saying that Donald Trump was isolated because of Iran, he was actually choking off the money routes that support the Brazilian system abroad. Donald Trump is not a politician. He preys on systems, a hunter of dictators. He understands that to destroy a mafia, you don't attack the top first. You cut off the financial lifeline. And the Brazilian government tried a delay tactic. They postponed the March trip using the Iran war as an excuse. But the truth is that Luiz Inácio had a bout of paralysis. He tried to create a narrative of confrontation to rally his base, expelling representatives and banning visits. He wanted Trump to react with anger, with fury, but Trump responded with silence. And there's nothing more terrifying for a leader who needs the spotlight than the silence of a power that ignores you while closing in on you. The current Brazilian government today is like a survivor made of glass. On the outside, it looks solid, it has the seat, it has the pen, but inside it's shattered. Once again, the lame duck. The unprecedented defeat in the Senate with the rejection of Messias' nomination proved that the coffee in the Esplanade isn't just Chinese. It's arriving cold. It's arriving frozen. No one obeys a leader anymore who can't guarantee his own survival in Washington. Thursday's trip is the desperate move of someone who knows that without Trump's endorsement, the Brazilian system will go into economic and legal collapse within 24 hours. Here we get to the part that's going to make your brain freeze. The real reason for this trip isn't the meat or soy trade, it's the lobbying to protect the mafias. Today there is what we call the archipelago of crime. These are spots on the map of Brazil where the federal constitution doesn't reach. These are areas controlled by factions you're very familiar with, where more than 50 million Brazilians live. These people are not citizens. They are hostages of a parallel state. This archipelago of crime, this island of crime, has its own army, its own courts, and the most valuable thing for Brasília, absolute control over captive voting blocks. And here's the bombshell. Trump holds the dossier to classify the PCC and the Red Command.
Organizações terroristas internacionais.
If the US State Department stamps this, the game changes completely. It won't be the federal police fighting a losing battle anymore. It will be the full force of the CIA, the NSA, and the US Treasury crushing the logistical network of these mafias. The accounts in tax havens, the logistics routes that go through Venezuela and Bolivia, everything will be targeted by drones and brutal financial sanctions. And Lula is going to Washington to beg that this designation not go through. Is he going there to protect Brazil's sovereignty or to protect the territorial control that guarantees his hold on power? Write now in the comments, sovereignty or mafia. I want to see if you have the courage to face this truth. Now let's go. Trump uses the economy as a precision weapon, and the name of this weapon is Section 306. It's a trade safeguard that allows Washington to impose devastating tariffs against any country that engages in what they call systemic hostility. The so-called tariff hike that the media said was over has actually just changed form. It has become Washington's guillotine. The behind-the-scenes deal is cruel and straightforward. Trump keeps the blade of Section 301 hanging over Brazil's neck. And in return, Luiz Inácio promised to deliver what Trump hates most in the current Brazilian scenario: the authoritarianism of the judiciary, and the close ties with the Chinese Communist Party, the dictatorships of Iran, Cuba, and Russia. Well, the Planalto's strategy now is to sacrifice the ally. They decided to leak that all the problems with the United States are the fault of just one man, Alexandre de Moraes. So Lula is ready to throw the judiciary under the bus to save his own skin. He promised to handle things internally regarding the political persecutions in exchange for relief on tariffs and the Magnitsky Act. It's betrayal in its purest form. The government is trying to sell out its former allies on the bench to appease the fury of the American sheriff. Trump, the negotiator who came from the New York real estate market, just listens. He knows that a cornered crisis manager will give up anything just to avoid being the next to fall. My friends, and that's where something comes in that nobody is telling you. If you thought Trump's siege was just about diplomacy, courts, or narco-terrorism, you underestimated the appetite of the dictator hunter. While Luiz Inácio tries to sell the soul of the judiciary in Washington, Trump has triggered what I call the butcher's guillotine. The United States Department of Justice, the DOJ, is not just investigating. It is taking a hard look at the hijacking of the protein supply. Trump realized that American national security isn't threatened, not just by missiles, but by what ends up on the citizen's plate. Four giants of the so-called Big Four now control 85% of the meat market in the United States. Have you heard about this? And this is the gut punch for Brasília. Half of this cartel, including JBS and Mafrig, is controlled by Brazilian interests. Trump doesn't see these companies as meat packers, he sees them as logistical Trojan horses. Peter Navarro, the strongman of trade at the White House, accused JBS of distributing millions of dollars to the American political system as if they were silver bullets. It's the use of meat profits to buy the protection that sustains the cartel. But the tables have turned. Trump signed an executive order, and prosecutor Todd Blanchie has already processed more than 3 million documents. The accusation: cartel formation, price manipulation, and the most explosive strategic blackmail. When Trump imposed tariffs on Brazil, the meat lobby tried to hold the food supply hostage, threatening to redirect American meat to China. My friends, Trump has just created the winning ticket for betrayal. The American government is offering rewards of up to $1 million for whistleblowers who provide evidence of this cartel. They are offering from 15% to 30% of the recovered amounts. Trump is telling the executives, "I'm going to turn your own managers into my spies." And Lula is going to Washington to try to save the cattle barons who finance his system and his campaigns here. But he's going to hit a wall. Trump knows that if he crushes the meat cartel, he cuts off the financial oxygen that fuels the power project in Brasília. It's not just drug trafficking. The king's friends also are compromised in Washington too. What's going to happen on Thursday, you ask me? My friends, get ready for the show. We'll see the stage photo, forced smiles, formal handshakes, and generic statements about democracy. But what really matters is the whisper in the Oval Office. Trump will demand an end to support for the axis of terror and real border control. He wants Brazil to stop being a safe haven for transnational crime logistics. If Luiz Inácio doesn't deliver concrete results and not just promises, the heavy tariffs will come back in full force and the terrorism designation will become an official decree. Trump captured Maduro and proved that the Praetorian Guard of dictators is made of paper when American steel decides to act. Luiz Inácio knows that the time for lies is over. He didn't go to Washington to negotiate, he went to beg for mercy. But on Trump's watch, time is a luxury that Brasília no longer has. The clock is ticking down to zero. And the zombie in the Planalto Palace is finding out that there's nowhere to hide. My friends, what I've shown you so far is the real machinery of power. The one that traditional media is afraid to discuss. Brazil's fate is being decided in rooms where the only currency is the survival of a system that feels the noose tightening. And if you want to understand how control of this archipelago of crime affects your wallet, your safety, and the 2026 election, you need to see what we've published on our exclusive platform. There, we bring the intelligence map data that censorship doesn't allow us to show here. There are already more than 3,000 strategists analyzing geopolitics in depth, without filters and without the whining of the mainstream media. The QR code is showing on your screen now. The link is in the description and in the first pinned comment. Come and get to know us and shield your mind. And for those of you who want to protect your family's culture, check out our series and movies channel. There we offer a curated selection of content that respects your intelligence with no culture work, no ideological indoctrination. Real stories for people with real values. The link is in the description, in the first comment, and also in the card that will appear on your screen right now. Now I ask you, what do you think about a weekly podcast with tips from the best? The best movies for you to watch and the worst ones for you to stay away from? Comment here. If you want a podcast, write the word podcast. Now don't let the official narrative blind you to the dirty game that's happening right now. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, leave a like, and share with your friends. Shield your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.